couldn't move from the chest downwards. They left me there for an hour because they didn't want to get in trouble.
Really?
I felt that I was being burnt by fire. Someone touches the side of your bed and it could send me into a seizure. Taking one's life is not a possibility as well.
Yeah.
I cried a lot of nights because you feel alone, but you feel your life is gone. Then I realized every day was training and every day I would give it my best. I would do everything I can. I said, give it to me straight, doc. Can I move? Lucas, you know, I shouldn't say this. 99.9% of the people don't heal. I said, would I make a 50% recovery, a 60? And he's like, the last person who had an injury similar to yours was in a car accident where a railing severed her spine. Where's she now? He said, that was 3 years ago and she's down the hall. And I said, I'll show you guys. I'm gonna make 100% recovery. It was the 14th of December, or 15th of December, 9 p.m. I was playing basketball in Hong Kong. I went to visit my family after 3.5 years. I was living in San Diego and then stopped by Florida. And I went to Hong Kong, played a pickup game before I was gonna move to Manchester.
What's a pickup game?
A pickup game of just a street ball game, basketball.
It's like a half-court game?
Yeah, and not an official tournament or anything.
Okay.
And I jumped up for a rebound and this guy used his shoulder to hit the back of my thigh, flipping me over his shoulder, falling onto concrete cement. I was in good shape back then, a lot bigger than now.
Yeah.
At my biggest point, I lost 60 kilos.
Yeah.
Don't have the photo for that because I didn't take a lot of photos back then, but I
So
used
how
to
much were you
work a lot.
weighing at this time when this accident happened?
I was only, I think, 90 plus kilos.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when I jumped up for a rebound, this guy used his shoulder, hit the back of my thigh, that flipped me over his shoulder, threw me onto concrete cement, and then broke my spine, and I couldn't move from the chest downwards. And I was in a lot of pain. First they left me there for an hour because they didn't want to get in trouble.
Really? How old were you?
I was 23 at the time. It was December.
Wow. I just left you there.
Yeah, 15th of December, 9 p.m. They left me there first because they didn't want to get in trouble, but eventually I got a ride and got someone to pick me up and bring me to the hospital.
So just to stop for a second, you couldn't move from here to here?
From the chest down.
You couldn't move the chest down?
Yeah.
So everything from the chest down to your toes, you couldn't move?
Yeah. So for my arms, I could move it, but it was really painful, but not exactly the same.
Yeah.
But I had no sensations. They're called dermatomes in medicine, where you can't feel on your skin or something. And the only thing I felt was I had broken some bones in my back, but also the bones had severed my nerve. And I learned in medicine and in med school that you can't really just connect it, but I think it must have been a miracle and hard work. We'll go into that later on. But I felt that I was being like burnt by fire, or imagine it was a red hot knife or something that was going through your flesh, and as it goes through the center, it's not when it gets to the center of your body, but when later on I was in the hospital room and someone touches the side of your bed, or the curtain floats, or someone walks in front of you.
Yeah.
Like spidey senses, but not good. I'd feel that I'm being stabbed in my back.
Just by someone walking by?
Yeah. Or
Was that
someone touches
sensitive?
with one finger.
That's
or
sensitive?
Yeah. And it could send me into a seizure. And it was so painful, but I didn't...
Like an actual seizure, or like a body seizure?
A tonic-clonic, like,
really
shaking seizure, because my brain couldn't process it and the pain was too much.
So actual too much pain can cause a seizure?
There was a lot of confusion in my head, and
well, your organs weren't injured in this accident?
They were, because I took a pretty big fall.
Yeah.
So you could see internal bleeding on the scans.
Which organs are affected?
So your kidneys are in your back.
Yeah.
And when you get hit, it's a pretty big fall from, I could dunk, so it's a pretty big height.
You could dunk as well?
Yeah. I could dunk since I was 14.
How tall are you?
Now I'm only about 6.
You're 6 foot, okay.
Yeah, but when I was 14, maybe 5'6", 5'7".
You could dunk then. So I can't do that. That's pretty
Yeah.
impressive. So you're playing basketball with these people. You didn't know them.
I did. I thought they were good friends of mine. We used
Yeah.
to meet at least 2 times a week.
Yeah.
And we would speak on the phone if we weren't meeting and stuff.
Yeah.
But after the accident, they didn't visit me in hospital. They just went MIA and they disappeared. And when I wrote to them, they said they just didn't want to be known as the person who caused that injury and stuff. So it made me realize when there was a time in this, and also being bedbound for a very long time, that you get to know who your real friends and family are, and then you start to re-evaluate what's important in life, like morals, values, different things that you'd want to place and how you want to position your life. I guess going back, a thing that made me realize was when I was in the hospital bed and the doctors would do the rounds, the physio would stop by, the nurse and stuff, and they would ask me, "Hi Lucas, how's your day going? Anything important? Tell us. Do you have any questions?" And I said, "Doctor, when can I go into the hallway? When can I walk?" And he's like, "Let's take it a day at a time." And I was like, when can I leave the bed? At this moment, I had the inability to sit up. I didn't
How
even.
long was this after the accident?
These were the first few months.
Okay.
I couldn't. I didn't have the desire to eat. Like, I wasn't hungry. My body didn't have the signals to go to the bathroom properly.
Yeah.
And I was like, when can I leave the hospital bed? And he's like, "Oh, let's just take it a day at a time." And I said, "Give it to me straight, doc. Can I move? Like, what's gonna happen?" And before, I had to use my neck, my head, use my neck to pull myself across the bed. I was laying in bed so long that it started, you could see the start of getting sores, and it was painful to move me because the pain we were talking about was so painful that it wouldn't go away even as you slept. And this went on for years. Being bedbound, but having physio sessions or rehab sessions. And even though it hurt to be touched, I wanted to be mobilized. The doctors, I was like, "You guys are my best friends," the physios, the nurses. I don't see anyone else. I can't turn on and off the aircon. I can't turn off and on the lights. I can't even hold a book up to read. I can't pull up a blanket if I wanted to. What's my recovery? He's like, "Lucas, I shouldn't say this, but honestly, like 99.9% of the people don't heal." And I was like, and I was still going on in my head. I said, would I make a 50% recovery, a 60, an 80? And he's like, the last person who had an injury similar to yours, because he didn't see anyone like mine, was in a car accident where a railing severed her spine, and she wasn't able to move after that. And I said, "So what? I'm going to make a 90% recovery. Where's she now? In a wheelchair? Can she walk? Can she run?" He said, "That was 3 years ago, and she's down the hall." And I said, "I'll show you guys. I'm going to make 100% 20 recovery, and I'll be running." And then I was laughing, and they all looked at each other, and they started like laughing a bit too.
Yeah.
And then I realized every day was training, and every day I would give it my best. And I would do everything I can to try to move forward.
Just to stop for a moment,
Yeah.
you're saying that like from here essentially down to your toes,
Yeah,
you couldn't move anything.
I couldn't. Well, my arms could move differently, and it was coming back to me first.
Yeah. But starting at this point, you just literally just
Here.
like what do you call that term? Like
Bedbound.
is it paraplegia almost?
Yeah.
Like paraplegia almost, just your neck only.
Because later on, the swelling in my back, it's called spinal shock, and the swelling in my back created inflammation that pushed on my nerves.
Yeah.
And then when you close off a nerve, you don't have the communication
Yeah.
to move properly. And I couldn't perform normal actions. Your brain knows what to do. You've done
Yeah,
it
yeah.
your whole life.
because you got that with the corpus callus, whatever it is, that thing between your brain where it sends all the signals that connect to every single part of your body, right? That's still transmitting down, but you're not getting it back, the feedback back.
The axons, the potentiation
Yeah.
of movement, but my body didn't know how to move, even though my mind did.
So you were saying about the training, right?
Yeah.
So what do you mean by training? Like you're in bed, they
Yeah.
said you're not going to be, basically say
Yeah.
99.9% chance, no way you're going to recover.
Yeah.
And then you said, I'm going to show you wrong, right?
Yeah.
And then you did training, so what happened?
So it's a very slow process. I wish it was like a Rocky montage or something fast.
Yeah.
Even though that would take a while.
Yeah.
It was first the physio just moving my toe or trying to help me feel sensations, going into a hydro pool, so a swimming pool, with the currents giving me a hydrostatic massage, so moving back and forth with your brain, learning the proprioception of how to pick up the activity or slightly moving. I had to first learn to move sideways in the water because I couldn't lift up my weight, but they looked at me and I used to work out 2 times, even 3 times a day lifting, and they were like, you're built really well, why can't you move? And I asked them, have you looked at the scan? My nerve's not connected. I just can't move. But they would move me in the water, and with time passing, I felt, sorry, this is jumping back and forth.
It's okay.
I felt my nerves, you'll see it in the textbook, and they say the nerves are the slowest to grow, 1 millimeter a day. And it felt really raw, and you could feel it just slowly growing. And as it grows, you can feel the connections. And it felt like more pain than falling and scraping your knee and someone shoving their finger into it. More than scraping your knee, and everyone scrapes their knee as a child and like putting alcohol to wash it. It was, the nerve endings were so raw and so painful. It felt, it was very painful, but I thought if there's pain, means there is hope, because the communication system still works. If they touch my toe and I felt like I was being stabbed in my back, it means maybe it's not a complete sever, but maybe it's a compression or axonal damage, nerve damage, and the pathway is still there. And then so later on, they moved my toes, my ankles. I learned to walk sideways in the water. They had to use one of the harness and lifting machines to put me in and out because I couldn't climb in and out of the pool. So learning to walk backwards and then learning to walk forwards took a very long time. Before that, I was bedridden, laying on the bed, and I had to first learn to, I couldn't sit up properly, but just to get me up, and I would pass out and I would see stars, and it's called orthostatic hypotension, and that is blood pressure that changes between your body, but my body was just so used to being in the flat position. I would even drink water laying down, and you'd have to go to your side so you don't choke. This was the time that I was barely eating. I went from eating maybe 6 to 8 meals a day down to a spoon of food every once, twice, or every third day, because my body had no appetite. And they would give me the steroids, not the hoo-ha steroids, but the steroids that would kill you and decrease inflammation. And so my body was just catabolizing and just decaying. But I think it was needed at that time.
To repair, right?
Yeah.
You have to,
My prognosis wasn't even really good, but I thought you have to fake it till you make it. From the bed, sorry, we're jumping towards, from the bed, they didn't know if we should progress. First, they only wanted to give me physio, the doctor wanted to give me physio only once a week for conservative training, but I told him, no, please give me physio every day, I'll do it. I tried twice a day, but my body and brain couldn't take it. I would get these crazy headaches because my brain had to somehow digest the movement we did for the day, or adjust to the pressures. And it wasn't that I was running, it wasn't that I was lifting, nothing like that. It was just trying to do one of the exercise was when they first got me from the bed to sitting, to practicing transfer into a chair, to eventually being in a chair with wheels, but I couldn't use the wheelchair yet. They would bring me to the physio room, strap me to a bed, a tilting bed, put these things that look like seat belts, and they would tilt the bed up to get me used to the blood pressure. And that was a few training sessions also, but I would pass out because I was not used to the blood pressure.
It's not used to it, because so you're saying like they're seeing stars, because like your brain, the back of your brain is where all the visual stuff is, right? So you're saying that the blood pressure would come to like you'd see these stars and then you'd like fall asleep, right? Because you're literally just moving your head upwards, right?
I think it's that's your occipital lobe.
Yeah.
I think there was just not enough
Blood
that was used to
yeah,
pumping.
because you're still lying down all the time, right?
Yeah.
And then now you literally,
Yeah.
your body has to shift and change everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From there,
Yeah.
we progressed to that hydro pool.
Yeah.
From there, we had a chair with wheels, and I stayed in the room quite some time. And when people come visit you, somehow they all come in a bunch, and when they leave, it's quite lonely.
Yeah.
You're there by yourself.
Yeah.
Before, and you're there with your thoughts. I was sitting there and I asked the nurse what the time was, and she's like, "Oh, you're not asleep yet?" I was like, "No, what time is it?" She's like, "There's a clock behind you. Can't you see it?" I was like, "I can't." At that point, I couldn't turn my neck, and then I was like, "No, what time is it?" She's like, "Oh, it's 3:30 in the morning."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Okay, well, thanks." She left, the light was on, so well, better to have it on than off, because I wouldn't be able to turn it on
Yeah.
later on.
Yeah.
You'll be with your thoughts the whole time, and I think this was the biggest time in my life where I had growth, because I think if people don't reflect in their life, they are just maybe a reflection or development or growth of the social media they see, the TV they watch, the radio, what people say, but this is where I got to challenge every what ifs in my life. What if this happened? What if that happened? What if it doesn't happen? And I went down memory lane for everything, because I realized I couldn't click on a computer to look at photos. To turn in bed, I would need help, but it would feel like I'm being stabbed or burnt. I couldn't live a life walking anymore. I couldn't even go to the toilet by myself. I couldn't get food properly or pull something in.
Yeah.
If I wanted a bottle of water, and even if it's bless my family for stopping by and like giving me love, if my family or the nurse or someone, I would ask them, "Can I please have water?" They'd hold a bottle of water. "Here." And they'd wonder, first their face would be like, "Why aren't you grabbing this?
Yeah.
Why are you lazy?"
Why don't they realize what sort of injury you have when they come to see you all the time?
They do, but I think we're so used to being in our own world
Yeah.
that sometimes we forget.
Okay.
Even sometimes when I come to work, ward rounds, or I see patients at the hospital as a doctor, and I'm in a happy mood or something, I was like, "How are you?" Blah, blah, blah. But we don't realize the patient is very sick. They're unwell. That's why they're there. They might be vomiting, and then you're just called in to give medications or something. But everyone's coming from a different place, so
Yeah,
we have to just
that's
meet them
true.
there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, there's something I wanted just to expand upon. I spent about 10 weeks in the hospital. I drank some water in Cambodia accidentally. I was playing beer pong on the beach. We're playing beer pong, everything's going good.
I hope
And then
you
we
won.
had this ball that was getting sand on it, right? And then we had these bottles of water all around this ping pong table. We're playing, and then there was this cup of water, and we used it to clean the ball. And I was really thirsty. It was really hot. You know, it's Cambodia. I've been drinking.
Of course.
And then someone poured a cup of water, and then I took, by accident, instead of, because they looked the same, right? I took the cup of water that was from the tap, drank it. And I was fine. Everything was all right. I'm like, oh, I drank the water. I was gross. Whatever. Then I went home. I was in the middle of Asia, and I was going to the bathroom like 30 times a day. And it went away, right? It was like salmonella, something like that. And I went to a hospital in Australia, because like, this was like 2 months after that trip. And my dad's like, "You're not well." I'm like, "Oh, I'm fine." He goes, "You need to go to hospital. Like, you really aren't well." So I went to hospital, and then this is before COVID, so they put all the mask stuff for that. I thought I had some crazy disease. They're like, what? You're in Asia? I know you have this. You're sick. Oh, okay. They put me in a special room, right? But I was just in the hospital for 10 weeks. But the sense of loneliness, isolation, and no one really understands this concept until you're really sick or you're bedridden and you're like, I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. And I was on medicines and stuff like that, sleeping, didn't have the time, so I can relate to your story. And it's incredibly lonely. And what you said about everyone coming together to see you, it's true. And then they go, and then it's just you. And then the people that come, the nurses, the doctors, the cleaners, become these characters in a TV show you're kind of living in, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I just really think it's important for the audience and people to understand, when people are sick and they go, oh, you're sick at a hospital, it's all right, you come out. No, it's like a prison. It's like a real prison. And I can't imagine me going through that, let alone yourself, where you're you don't know if you can move or walk or all these different things. So I just wanted to ask you about your feeling in the moment. When that doctor was like, oh yeah, you're not gonna be able to do any of these things, and your resilience straight away is like, no, I'm gonna do that. What made you feel that that is possible, that self-belief?
I think I've been a very positive person my whole life, but I realize also if I complain and nothing comes out of it, I might as well do something for something to happen. I did go through bouts of sadness or warranted depression and whatnot, even when I needed to use the loo, and I asked mother to give me a pee bottle, and I tried to help myself, and I realized I tried to do it halfway, and then I spilt because I couldn't use my arms properly, and I was in pain, and I couldn't move properly, and I was in a puddle of pee, and I realized I would probably be in this filth for the rest of my life. I was really sad. Bad thoughts crossed my mind. But I was too weak and I couldn't move. So taking one's life is not a possibility as well. It's not to say that it was positive the whole time. I think some of the time I cried a lot of nights or alone, because you feel alone, but you feel your life is gone. When you can't even help yourself to the bathroom, you can't even eat, you're a prisoner in your own mind, you can't move, you can't pull up a blanket, you can't feed yourself, you can't go to the bathroom. You realize that maybe your whole life is just that way. And also, there's this thing called, everyone knows post-traumatic stress, but there's post-traumatic growth and success. And I decided to use that as a bouncing board, a diving board to propel me forward. And if I couldn't physically move yet, I would develop my mind. As I gained the ability to use my arms, I'm a slow reader. I only started to really learn how to read when I was 11 or 12. I'm dyslexic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but then I started to read about 2 to 3 books a week at least. And it wasn't fun, entertaining books. They were all dry books. Because I thought I would use this time in life to catch up. And I wasn't a super dumb person, but I didn't apply myself previously. But once I went to university, I did. And at that time, I had graduated from my second degree. And then the doctor told me to always keep my mind active. And I think in that way, because when you keep your mind active, maybe there's hope that something will wake up. I forced myself also to learn German in a month and a half. And that was a pretty, I don't think I'd ever be able to do that for another language that fast. It's like X-Men. I'm one of those, you might know this character, right? He's bald. He's in a wheelchair.
Xavier.
I'm like Professor Xavier, but without the special powers, just the wheelchair. And that's how I describe people. Like that what I was before. I think he's
Could you read minds?
I couldn't, but I had a wheelchair. So in the end,
Yeah.
I went from a chair without wheels to a chair with wheels, and I asked the nurses or my mom to put me in the hallway because we have mirror neurons in our head, and so when we see someone do something,
It activates in our brain, right?
yeah, and our brain thinks we're actually doing it. I would sit on the side and I would encourage everyone to walk. It was like the terminally sick and ill ward, and I had a friend who passed away from cancer. He was very motivating. He walked 3 times a day to 2 times a day, and I felt very sad that as I got stronger, he got weaker. So later on, he walked 1 time a day, and then I joined him, and I was on the wheelchair, and I was able to move my arms. But this took a lot of physio where I learned with an ergometer to move my arms, where the physios helped me move, where we had to do very light weights, where we had to use resistance bands, to also moving in the water. Eventually, from the wheelchair, I had a Zimmer frame, the elderly frame.
Yeah, the one that you see, they hobble along, right?
So I was literally hobbling.
Wow.
I had to move this forward, drag both my feet, put it down, hobble again.
So the top
Drag it
half
forward.
of you was like working well, or like
Yeah.
working, and then the bottom wasn't.
You're so built. The top of you becomes so built.
Yeah, I can imagine. 'Cause you're moving your whole body, your whole
it's-
frame.
Your
Yeah.
upper body, like your arms become your thighs.
That's the reason why our legs are so big, right?
Yeah.
Because we're supporting our whole body on that frame all the time when we walk, right? We're
Yeah.
doing reps. So when you're doing that, it's literally the opposite.
Yeah.
So I can imagine why your top half would have been so big.
I had chicken legs, literally.
Yeah.
Like they turned to twigs.
Yeah.
That's how I know. On the street, if you see a fake beggar
Yeah.
who has buff legs, they can actually walk.
Oh, I never thought about that. Because you do
Yeah.
see a lot, like throughout Asia. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I never thought about that. Of course.
Because when I couldn't walk, it was just skin and bones.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like sometimes when I see them and I was like, oh, you've got nice legs, but I was like, definitely like, you're doing okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or if they're bigger size than me, I was like, you're definitely eating better than
Yeah,
I am.
yeah.
From there, the Zimmer frame, we did a lot of rehab to double elbow crutches,
Yeah.
to single elbow crutch, until walking with a cane. There's more story in between.
I wanted to bring up a point that you
Yeah.
were just saying before, Lucas, as well. Like, so when you're in bed and like you couldn't move and stuff like that, right? I think one of the things that I remember you saying to me about this was like you were using your mind to tell your body to do things, right?
Yes.
Can you share a bit about that?
Yeah. So it's very different. I used to be a very physical person, as in I thought people were just being weak. You just lift weights, you just power through it, you could do it. You're tired, you don't need to sleep, you drink a coffee, you do some push-ups, jumping jacks, whatever.
Yeah.
You continue with your day. Just sleep when you travel, on the plane, on the bus, whatever. But I realized you can't power through some stuff. And the physical body was not your full body, as in philosophy, John Locke was saying, what is your body? Like your physical body, your mind, what is it? And then I start to realize it's a combination. When we take our fingers and we move it like that, I feel that's a physical sensation. When we move our toes, I feel that's a physical sensation. But later on, to make the connections, what I had to do was use my brain, have focused thought. I learned from a professor of mine, and she always brought this up, that when we sleep, our brain doesn't know the difference between a dream and reality.
Yes.
And most of the time, we think that when we're sleeping, that is the truth. Even whatever someone believes now to be true in our waking state, that is the truth for each person, and everyone's reality can be different.
Correct.
I had to force my brain to imagine my nerves growing, and I could feel how far they were, and to just try imagine them growing until there was a certain point of time where I could imagine down to my toe, and I could use my focused thought to move one toe without the other. And it wasn't like your fingers that already can move, but it was to individually move your toes. And sometimes the action potentiation of sending off a signal can even make my toe do like 2 beats or I could move the middle one, or it just felt so different. But I had to do that every day.
Yeah.
Some things that I noticed as well with that was in my sleep. Sometimes I would have a little sensation and a muscle would twitch, one small twitch. But when it twitches, it felt like I was being stabbed or burned by fire. But at least when I had another muscle twitch, it meant there was sensation.
Electricity.
Or there was a signal,
Yeah.
like a lighthouse or something. The light comes back,
Yeah.
boop.
Yeah.
And then or a neuron fires off and the signal goes all the way.
That's cool.
And I was like, wow. And that was painful. But I thought, if that's possible, I just have to keep repeating until something happens.
Yeah.
And as we learned to walk sideways in the water, the other way, then I eventually learned how to walk backwards.
Yeah.
Before even a year and 8 months.
Wow.
To drag my foot properly forward.
Wow.
And I just had to keep repeating motions until stuff started to become automatic. That's like in our nerves we have these things called Schwann cells, and it quotes the outside of the nerves, so you can have jump skip, so communications between neurons, so you can move faster. And things become automatic.
So this professor that told you about this mind thing, right?
Yeah.
Who were they?
She was my learning specialist from high school.
Really?
Yeah, and she's one of the teachers, the only one who really believed in me.
That's amazing.
Because I felt that I was gonna drop out of school and people didn't understand me before.
Yeah.
We still speak now. I owe her a visit.
And she's a professor of what?
Oh, I call her professor, but she's my teacher, so I give her respect.
Okay.
She's not like a BJJ professor.
Okay. Or like a scholar professor, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think she's so smart.
She must be. She's ever studied psychology?
Yeah.
Because it's interesting. Do you know about Milton? Milton and someone else created hypnosis. And Milton, I think he had scoliosis or he had an accident and he was bedridden. It's very similar to you, very similar circumstances. This is why I bring this up.
Is it polio or something?
Polio, maybe, right? Okay. And he told him he'll never walk.
Yeah.
Right? Similar story to you.
Yeah.
And then first time I heard you say this to him, I'm like, this sounds just like Milton. And so he was in bed, and I think from maybe he can move his arms or something like that, right? And then they told him he could never walk, and he believed that he could. And he would get into these dreamlike states looking out the window, and he would hypnotize himself almost. He didn't realize. And then he'd set up a mirror so he could look at himself, and he would hypnotize himself and then send signals down to different parts of his body to move. And slowly he taught himself using physiotherapy, but also using his mind to walk again. So that's why I bring it up. When you tell me this story, it just makes you think, wow, it's so, even though it's similar in some ways, but different, it's interesting how powerful the mind can be in healing and just, firstly, there's having positive belief in yourself. If anything you want to do in the world, if you don't believe it, you're not going to do it.
True.
If you can't think, I can walk through this room or I can achieve this thing, you're never going to do it, right?
True.
That's the first thing you need. But the second thing is just literally sending energy down to the point of your body to start working again.
Yeah.
And I just think about, his story is insane, but your story to me is just amazing. You're someone that was athletic and healthy and had everything going for you, and then you have this accident where you can't walk, and then they're saying to you, you're never going to walk again, and you're in all this pain, and it's a testament to who you are, that you can do everything right now. It's amazing.
Thank you. And so you're right. I'm able to jog with my back sometimes acting up, but at times I trained again, even to run on a treadmill with a resistance band pulling me back.
Wow.
Now I don't have so much time with medicine to do it, but I used to train a lot, and it went from training once a day to twice to 6 times, up to 26 times a day. And the way...
How long is that training?
So training would be different, not like lifting weights all the time, and not like running all the time, but sometimes it was picking up a cup.
Yep.
I used to reach for a drink, and sometimes my brother would wonder why I would knock it over or my hand would go inside the cup. Sometimes it would be learning to sit on the side of a chair without passing out. Until a headache hit or I felt so tired and so drained because I was exhausted all the time.
And then, so how long did it take you to walk again? Let's say just like taking your first steps without any like assistance.
That was Australia.
Yeah.
When I moved to Australia from
Hong Kong.
London. So I went from Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
I rehabbed a lot.
Yeah.
And then my first journey I did was to come see my grandma.
Yeah.
She's my favorite person,
Yeah.
and I love her a lot, and I didn't know if I'd ever see her again in my life
Yeah.
because it hurt me to fly. But after seeing her, I knew that was okay then. And I was staying at home, rehabbing every day. And then one day, I came home from rehab, swimming, and my dad was at the bottom of our staircase. He had fallen down, and he hit his head, releasing, he had a brain bleed, causing a stroke that sent him into a coma. And then my mom was holding her mouth, and all she could say was, like, Dad fell from the stairs, Dad fell from the stairs. And then we have helpers and people at home, but people didn't know what to do. And so I pulled myself together and I was like, okay, we have to get ready for the hospital, this, that, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, realized when that was settled and that was in hospital and in his coma, in the long run, he would need a physio to take care of him. So I went, Mum and I made the decision. Dad was still sick. He's been sick for 11 years, but now he was in a coma. So I made the decision to go back to London to study physio at King's and then be a carer for my dad and continue. How it's good. I learned what I needed to. However, life has different twists and turns, and in the end, I did not graduate as being a physio because I didn't think I was spinally fit enough to be a physiotherapist. I was still walking with a cane.
Yeah.
And they encouraged me to leave before the final exams. So I took this as an opportunity in life to go spend time with Dad, travel a bit, go spend time with Dad, and got to spend 9 months before Dad passed away. He woke up from his coma bits and pieces. Because you asked me how I came to medicine. First, it was with a second chance at life. I wanted to give back to the world and I wanted to help out. And the physios really helped me. I think I pursued that as far as I could go. And then I was encouraged to leave. After that, I decided, hey, why not do medicine?
Yeah.
So I did medicine as my second choice,
Yeah.
my backup plan.
Yeah.
Got into medicine. There were some twists and turns and journeys there, and I didn't know I was going to do medicine because as I healed and I thought, and Dad passed away, I thought maybe I would be sculpturing in Italy at that time because I was really into cycling and I bicycled half of Italy, and I made a promise with Dad to travel to the Mediterranean, eating food, and Dad told me he was 40 years older than me. He was born in the war.
Wow.
In World War II.
What?
Yes.
Your dad's born in World War II?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he would be, yeah.
Towards the end, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then so he told me, well, I'm very sorry, Lucas. I'm very sorry, son, that I'm very old and I'm sick and weak and I won't be able to do this. But if you go, you film it, I will watch it.
Yeah.
And then so I have actually completed most of that journey. I did by bicycle, by train. And then it was my mum and dad's dream to move to Australia.
Yeah.
It's very similar to England, but better weather. People are happier, they live longer, healthcare is better. You can get the same food, but better food.
This is coming from someone that's English as well. That's what I think.
And then so when I went from England, when I went from London to visit Dad in Hong Kong, I saw Dad. They released him from ICU to put him on the wards so we can spend time with him. My mom said it was amazing. He woke up from his coma.
And you just had a cane, right?
I had a cane.
Yeah.
I here have another cane.
You got another cane now.
Yeah. And my dad said, hey, let's move to Sydney. Let's move to Australia. I said, sorry, Dad. I have spinal injury, I walk with a cane, and I can't help you the same way I did before. But if you could leave this hospital room, I'll do everything in my power to move you, Mom, the family, like my brother, all to Australia. And I guess when my dad passed away, that was his way of leaving the hospital room. So we took my dad's body, cremated him, scattered his ashes out at sea, and then took the remainder of his ashes and made a diamond necklace, and then brought Dad to Australia to fulfill the promise.
Wow.
So even though I'm there alone and I feel very lonely, I think I fulfilled the promise to my dad by being there. So that's why I'm in Australia.
Wow.
And to link this, I arrived in Australia with a walking stick. My back still hurt, and I had to attend med school. But when we started in our first year going to hospital, I realized I can't be walking around the hospital with a cane. They won't know who's the patient or who's like the student doctor. I have to put this aside. Maybe this is it. So I put it aside. I felt very naked without my stick. That means I was very reliant on it.
So you were saying that, like, going back to like bringing your dad's ashes and making this necklace and coming to Australia. So when you were kind of felt like for whatever reason, like Australia was this place where you were gonna start everything, right? Everything's gonna start going good for you again, right? And it sounds like it did for you because, you know, you were able to walk again. You know, what was that feeling like going when, I know, sure, when you started, like, removing the cane, but what was that feeling like when you kind of clicked in your head, like, oh, I can basically do everything I could before?
I felt a childlike wonder. The first time I felt this was when I didn't know that I could leave the hospital and they wheeled me with a wheelchair and the doors opened and I felt the hot, humid air of Hong Kong summer come, and I was like, whoa, I've been in hospital so long. I forgot that hot, humid air, wind, and pollution felt like that. But I was like, that's beautiful. I inhaled it. And the next one was when I did that long walk, and I describe it as a childlike wonder. I started to see colors that were different. It wasn't always maybe the white walls of the hospital, the normal sheets, it wasn't so stagnant and stale and uniform or cookie cutter. It was life with some grit and a bit of dirt, and that was nice. And then when I put my walking stick away, throughout this whole period of time, I did feel pain and I felt very tired. But what I did realize in my head was, I was like, in Australia was, wow, it's possible. And anything we think that is impossible or we don't even believe, we don't even know half of it. In 1 year's time, we do not know where we're going to be. I never knew I was going to come to Australia. I didn't know that even when I went to England, I didn't know I was going to go to England with my dad falling from stairs. I didn't know I was going to go to all the unis that I went to. And then so it was this childlike wonder to be given a second chance at life, and what you thought mattered before. Some of the stuff, like the fast-paced life or all that fun, that's great, but it's not like family, the values of family, coming home to your roots, taking care of your community, sharing the love. It's not like that. There was one of the things that I realized with that deep reflection, also that NLP or different stuff, and you do it on yourself with self-reflection, was I met a lot of holy men. I met with fathers, reverends, priests, gurus, Lama for like the Dalai Lama. He was also a doctor.
You met the Dalai Lama?
I met this one of the lamas for the Dalai Lama and all that. And he used to be a physician, surgeon in California, but he was so touched when he visited the monastery that he decided to dedicate time and become one of them. I met him, we had a great chat.
What did you learn?
What's the secret to life? Right? He spends all this time meditating. He has all these scriptures. He speaks to all these amazing people. He's like besties with the Dalai Lama. What's the secret to life?
And what did he say?
And I guess Is that for you to find out, or should I share?
Share it. What did he say?
It was a very long time ago, but I guess
What did he say?
with all these holy men that I spoke to, they talk about spending time with loved ones or doing what you believe in or what your values are. And that's what having a purposeful life. I guess that's what they're all coming to. Whatever you find is your purpose and passion, I think that's where you have to go, right? I also, one of the gurus I sat with, he told me different breathing exercises.
You were saying something about them saying the meaning of life, the secret to life is purpose. Is that what you learned from all of them?
There's different things.
Right.
Purpose, passion, and sometimes just being present and enjoying it, right? And depending on which walk of life you come,
Yeah.
will mean whichever way you will go as well, and what would place more importance for you. And the purpose and passion and being present in your life would be different at different stages in your life as well. And it just has to adapt. And that present moment, I think I had many talks with a friend who passed away from cancer in the hospital, and he was talking about that too, how he saved all his money up for retirement and he was going to have fun with his wife and everything and travel, but then now the money was all needed for him to go to hospital and try for bone marrow transplant and everything. But life and its purpose, I was asking, so what does it come down to? He's like, it's really what you make it, right?
Yeah, I think so as well. Like it's always something we're always like asking ourselves, like, what does it mean? Like, is it have a family? Is it to have a mission, to do all these different things? What I'm finding as I get older is I have more of a belief that what I'm kind of doing as a purpose. When I was younger, I did things to help people with different social work, helped with these children, people from victims of trauma. I still work in these refuges with these kids have these like mental health episodes where they go psychotic, and it's just due to their like upbringing and their environment that they have to live through these really tough situations. And I come in there and I help them and do this different work with them for years, and it was fulfilling, and it's really hard and tiring work as well. Your expectations about what you want someone to be and then what they can be based on everything they're given, it's really, really hard, And I think what I learned from helping people is that, like, you can bring people towards water, or a horse to water, right? But only they can drink.
Yeah.
Only they can really do that thing,
Yeah.
And as inspiring and as, like, motivating as you can be, you really have to help convince someone to get going. It's not about you doing things for them. It's about what you can do to make them be better.
True.
And in learning that and helping people, I changed and felt like I've done what I can in that. I need to do something different now. And that leads me to where I am now and the journey I have in helping people with communication and the stories and influence and things that happen to me I can help share, So I really do feel like purpose is like a big thing, and we all don't know what the answer is, but like purpose can really be a North Star in life in terms of like how you build everything else around that, One thing I wanted to ask you about was you have a medical background and you're really well, like I speak to you about medical problems, so we were talking about some before this interview, talking about like strokes and stents and all this medical jargon that you know really, really well because you have that time to learn whilst you're recovering, right? And at the same time, you have a lot of Eastern philosophy, like meeting the Dalai Lama, learning about different things, also the ability to like use your mind to help heal yourself, right? So what I want to ask you is that, like, how do you kind of balance those things? And I'm sure that you're working as a doctor, like you might describe some of these concepts to people sometimes and they think you're crazy, right? They must come up. But as someone that like having lived in the physical and spiritual world, I see both sides to it, like there's facts, but then there's so many things that we don't know as well. How do you grapple with that, and how do you deal with people that are kind of like asking like those sort of questions that don't believe?
I think, great question. I think with work is work. So at work, I will only perform professionally and within my capabilities and limitations of a Western trained doctor. And then outside, hypothetically, with friends, family and all that, Both you treat with a holistic approach, but what is important to you? If someone wants to take their supplemental herbs and medications, or they're adverse to taking medications, Western medications, I would strongly encourage them to take science-proven medications. That would help, because sometimes, say for a case like cancer, if a person doesn't get the proper treatment and it spreads, if they don't take the chemo or radiation therapy. I've heard stories also and seen things where it can go the other way. But for when it helps and works with people, that can be good also.
It's interesting, right? So I interviewed a guy, his name's Chun. He's on the podcast as well in a previous episode, and he's currently still fighting a stage 4 cancer. He's an inspiration, this guy. He also trains jiu-jitsu every day, through chemo, through radiation, still doing it, and then went on to do the ADCC, which is like the regional highest level grappling for his age group, and he won.
Wow.
Whilst undergoing all that. You know, he's a true testament to that, right? So when I sat down with him and spoke to him, he actually is an atheist. So he believed in God, and then he didn't anymore. And then I asked him about these sort of things and wrestling with it in his head, and like, you know, the Eastern mindset and stuff around that. And he had people come to him and say, you need to get like an enema. The enema will clear it and stuff like that. That was the advice he was getting, right? You need to get rhinoceros horn and eat it and all these different things, yeah. But his mindset's like, no, it's just all going to be like classical medicine. And however, he did still take away some things about like having a positive mindset, helping him and his family. You know, he's going through all this pain and suffering, but he still tries to maintain positivity because he wants people to remember him if he does pass away.
I think in a dire situation, a person needs to take whatever works for them, just to get through that period, right? It doesn't have to be Eastern method. It doesn't have to be the Western method. It's just what works for that person. If it's sheer will and brain power, great. Sometimes a person can be non-motivated, but they just have to push through it, right? There's a thing like CBT therapy, cognitive behavior therapy, and it could be, you can have the motivation, or you could have the cognition, or you can have the mindset, but if you don't, you just do the action, and motivation will eventually come. If not, at least you did the motion, and you trust the process, and something will come out of it.
No, I agree. Yeah, that's why it's such a powerful thing, that cognitive behavioral therapy, right? It's similar to NLP, like the ways of like, if anyone doesn't know what NLP is neuro-linguistic programming, and it's just basically saying that like all our brains are like, we frame things, we frame events, and it all comes back to different feelings and emotions and things that we go through, right? And these frames, we build them up over and over and over, and they become programs. Like you might have a thing where like, I don't know, you're constantly judging people, whereas the opposite of judging is being very perceptive. You're constantly perceptive. Now, everyone's kind of usually in the middle, but some people might be very strong at judging people. Some people might be very strong at perceiving. And it's the same thing for like people that are really on time and in time, right? Yeah, people that are on time, they're like, I have to be there at 6:35. You know, those people that will constantly like tell you, right? They're like, and then you have other people, it's just like, it's fine. Time will go whenever time is, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is about learning these different things, is that you start to learn how to break everything down in your life and see that we're all running on these programs. And when you have ability to know what programs that you're running, you find out which things are limiting you and which things are helping you succeed. So it's really important that when you're saying about cognitive behavioral therapy or these ways of programming, that we learn how to use them so we can learn how to unlock parts of ourselves that are repressed.
Yeah, definitely true. I agree with it. Most growth happens in independence when you're forced to do it. And there's a saying that came to mind is, you don't know how strong you are until you have to do something, until like strong is required. And then you do it. Doesn't matter if you don't sleep, you don't eat. Doesn't matter if you're hurt. Doesn't matter if anything, but you just push through it.
Did you ever get to meet that doctor again that said that you were going to walk? Really?
Yeah.
What happened?
So every day he tells me, and he's a really good doctor, And he tells me, you don't know. This is his favorite quote. You don't know until you try.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know until you try. And he's like, have you tried? He kept asking me every day, did you try to jog yet? Did you try to jog yet? And I would tell him, doctor, I can't even eat every day.
Yeah.
Doctor, I can't even go to the bathroom every day. He's like, you don't know until you don't try. I was getting annoyed. He's like, did you walk in, like, I would tell him, like, doctor, I can't even walk yet. He's like, have you tried to jog yet? I was like, I can't walk. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right? It was driving me mental. One day, when I was done with my sessions, I went to see the doctor. And he's like, hi, Lucas, how can I help you? He's like, oh, look at you. It's great to see you're walking. Oh, I didn't know you were so tall also because you were always laying down. And then he was like, have you tried to jog yet? I was like, doctor, I've been running this whole time now on a treadmill with a resistance band pulling me backwards. And he was like, whoa, he was taken aback and he was totally shocked because he couldn't believe it. I think he was just saying it to say it to me. But then later on he was shocked. He's like, wow. And then he just couldn't believe it. And he was like, wow, you can jog now. I was like, wasn't that what you told me to do the whole time? And he was like, yeah, you don't know if you don't try. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What did that feel like?
It felt, I always feel that it was painful and tiring. Those are the first emotions that I feel, or even sensations. Because even when I went to medical school, I was still in pain. And I think it must have been only 2021 when the pain just subsided.
Yeah.
And that's pretty recent.
Wow.
And another thing was like, yeah, that's right. I did do it.
Yeah.
I am jogging.
Yeah.
And then I think we don't realize we can do something until it's done.
Yeah.
I didn't know I could be a doctor also, and I thought it was late in life, and I didn't know sometimes we have to take a leap of faith, or even moving countries and things, and we never know how it's going to turn out. It could turn out really bad.
Yeah.
It can be very good. I don't know where I'm going to be next year either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're in Brisbane now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I've got one more question for you. What is one piece of advice you think you can give people when at their lowest point on how they can overcome and be better in any realm of their life? What do you think it could be?
I think they can take one small step.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows the next step to take.
Yeah.
It might be hard, it might be challenging, but we all know what we really need to do. And even if we don't know what to do, taking action is better than not taking action.
Mm-hmm.
I want to tell that person, whoever, that I love them, I'm proud of them. And it will be a lonely journey until you make it.
Mm-hmm.
There can be people here laughing, giggling, but until you make it, it can be a quiet road.
Yeah.
Sometimes people can cheer with you, but you have to put in the work. Everyone has to go through the grind. There is a bit of suffering because nothing comes easy or for free.
I think so as well. Like, if we're happy all the time, then how do we know what pain is? Or if we're painful all the time, how do you know what happy is, right? So I think struggle and I can't think of this philosophers right now, but all of that, shapes you as a person.
Yeah.
It's like the sculpting. It's like when you're doing sculpting, right? That clay that you sculpt through suffering and pain, and you develop into something that's strong and can be resilient. So I think that's really good advice. Yeah, I think it's really good. I'm
always happy for people to reach out, and I just wish people the best.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lucas's story was super inspiring, and I was completely shocked that he was able to walk after all that trauma. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you want to see my podcast with the man that fought Hickson Gracie blind, you can do so right here. But before you go, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.